Did you ever watch Reacher on Amazon Prime? Well, remember that big brick shithouse looking guy? Well, in War Machine, he is a wannabe ranger with a promise to fulfill to his brother. So he goes through 8 weeks of torture training to be a ranger just to build up to that last day, the big final test day, only to get everything interrupted by a big ED-209 robot transformer looking alien thing. This movie absolutely does not let up. This is one for all you action heads out there. Do you remember a long time ago, like 20 years ago, there's a movie called Behind Enemy Lines with Owen Wilson? It's kind of like that flavor. Once that robot shows up, they are doing nothing but fighting and running and duking it out all the way to the end. Yeah, I could see how people would call this movie like kind of like rah-rah propaganda stuff. But damn it, if I don't like seeing an alien get fucked up after putting a soldier through hell, that's what I like to see. So if you're into explosions and fighting big robots, this is the movie for you. This movie, in my mind, for Alan Ritchson, functions as a giant calling card to either Marvel or DC. This guy is built like a superhero, he's likable, and he can act. Somebody should scoop him up for one of their superheroes right now. What I want to talk about here is The Bride. This is a movie where a lot of people have been trashing this movie online. They've been talking a lot of shit, and I don't think it's deserved because I thought this movie was fantastic. Frankenstein must really be in the air lately because we're getting a lot of movies about that. And this one has Christian Bale playing Frankenstein, and the title character, he's got his lady Frankenstein, the bride. She's got, the shock hair is not tall like Marge Simpson this time. It's kind of a cool off to the side thing. She's got this tattoo of blood smear across her face, which is probably going to become a really popular costume for girls out there. And it's definitely strange because the bride in this movie is actually somehow possessed by the soul of Mary Shelley, who wrote the story all those, 100 years ago. And she also kind of has Tourette's because there are two souls in one body. You got Mary Shelley fighting with the poor girl who was in this body and then brought back to life. So there's a lot to take in here. So how we get the bride back from the dead is the same as every other story you've seen with it. The lightning. But when she comes back, the story really becomes more of Bonnie and Clyde, as Frankenstein and the bride are Bonnie and Clyde against the world. There's corrupt cops. There's Jake Gyllenhaal as a short-legged 30s movie star. Oh yeah, did I mention this all takes place in the 1930s? This movie is actually everything I ever wanted a Joker Harley Quinn movie to be. It really gives those kind of vibes. It's like a very conflicted, angry, delirious kind of love story. Almost like Sid and Nancy, but without the, they're murdering other people instead of killing each other. I think the word I'm looking for is like, it's a tragic destiny story. And there are a lot of meta qualities to this movie in that, like, sometimes as you are watching a scene of Frankenstein and the bride talk to each other, you're also seeing them on screen at a movie theater. So like they're at a movie theater and they're also watching themselves, and like what they're saying to each other is different than what they're saying on screen, which is kind of maybe what they're really feeling. And I don't get how you could hate a movie where the Frankenstein character actually name checks young Frankenstein by singing a little bit of Putting on the Ritz in the movie. In the end, I realized at the movie theaters, nobody saw this movie but me, but I'm hoping that by the time it comes to streaming, you'll give it a chance to see something that is really weird and really original. And I know there's a lot of people out there who probably just wouldn't want to be bothered with something like this. But if you're looking for something, if you can put up with something that's strange, you're really going to get drawn into this story and like it. Do you ever want to watch a movie that was so vile and so controversial that its own director was murdered for making it? That's what Salo, or 120 Days in Sodom, is. It opens up with very Woody Allen style credit sequence. It's just the lettering. It's got very classy jazz music. They are all this is an Italian movie. They are all very Italian names. In fact, the sound engineer is called Domenico Pasquini. Quadibisceglie. Pronounce that for me. That this is set in Italy. It's set 1944, the ending days of World War II. And it just brings up this house and it says, "Welcome to the antechamber of hell." I'd be willing to bet that this is the kind of movie that was on Epstein Island. For sure, this was in his movie collection. So the movie starts with a bunch of old dudes kidnapping a bunch of boys and bringing them to this chalet or whatever. And they're handing out pieces of paper for a lottery. Lottery for what? You know for what. Oh, and don't worry, there's a lottery for girls too. It's equal opportunity. If you were to imagine the Hunger Games with rape, you're right about where this movie is. And just like Hunger Games, there's this Effie Trinket style headmistress who constantly throughout the movie is telling these horrible, disgusting stories. And in fact, in one scene, she's telling a story about basically how she became a 7-year-old hooker, and she gets interrupted by one of the rich dudes for not being graphic enough in her descriptions. Like, he stops and says, "Hey, wait a minute. You didn't describe what that act felt like to you." So they're really looking to like gun for over the topness in this movie. There's people getting walked around like dogs in this movie. There's a scene where these people are forced to get married and they have all their bridesmen and groomsmen and bridesmaids, and they're all naked. And they're all forced to, eventually this becomes like a human centipede scene. In fact, if you're wondering where Two Girls, One Cup came from, there's kind of a scene like that in this movie. And this was shot in the 70s. I don't even know how the Criterion Collection came to kind of immortalize this movie. I read the back of the box, and it says, "The notorious final film from Pier Paolo Pasolini has been called nauseating, shocking, depraved, and pornographic. It's also a masterpiece." It is not. It's not pornographic because there's nothing erotic about this. And it's not art either. It's degradation and torture. Maybe the lesson of this movie went right over my head, but I say pass.